One of the things I wanted to do was that James had a question. He can't join us today, but he wanted me to read a question. And it says, one of the most likely reasons we have not heard from intelligent life forms is that by very nature, intelligent life self-destructs itself when it reaches a certain critical technological threshold and produces weapons of mass destruction, cause catastrophic climate change and or overpopulation, starvation, and special Armageddon. However, this likelihood is reduced considerably if it is possible for intelligent life to evolve without the survival of the fit ingredient. That is, can intelligent life evolve by some mechanism that does not involve what we call natural selection, i.e. violent competition among competing genes and species? Put another way, is the only way a species becomes intelligent is by having aggressive, violent, and otherwise a dominant pain in the ass. If it is not possible, then that probably confirms why we have not heard from other intelligent species, which is borderline depressing. However, it is possible that we must look to other explanations. In that case, my bet is we have been contacted, but are not yet intelligent enough to perceive the contact, or else when were contacted, we were still at the early primate stage. Okay.
Well, the first thing he's talking about the third part of the Fermi paradox, which is, that the reason we haven't heard from anybody is that intelligent civilizations don't survive long enough, and so there's just not anybody around. One of the articles that you sent us, somebody had calculated, and I have no idea how they would calculate this, that an intelligent civilization, this guy said, lasts on an average of 67,000 years, and let's say a inhabitable planet has 4 intelligent civilizations rise up over the lifetime of the planet, and if you crunch the numbers, that's still not very many that can communicate with us.
Well, and the communication is difficult because many things are light years away from us.
Right.
Many light years.
And the question is, how would they communicate? Is it going to be stuff we know about or stuff we don't know about? So
there's another slight problem, I think. I understand that the universe keeps expanding, which means that there will be another intelligence group that might be living.
The universe is big, and because of the limitations of the speed of light, there's not much of it that we can communicate with. Hey, here comes Heather.
So are you saying that the universe is static, Richard?
No.
Okay, well.
I just said the universe is big.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. Last time I went around, it was pretty big. Then it was bigger. So, I was going to say, suppose there will be an intelligent species, one of the whatever it is that's floating around. It is leaving our presence at a rate of about 50,000 miles a minute or something like that. I mean, that's some number I remember somebody once figured out. So if there's other intelligent life, it just is going away from us at an enormous speed, more than light, and so we can never catch up. So I think it's kind of silly to even speculate on whether there is another intelligent life that we can get in contact with.
And an interesting aside.
Whoops, you froze there, Norman.
A psychiatrist I had in sport, like 30% of
You're frozen up, Norman.
Come back, Norman.
I see
And
some
there's
aliens.
Heather. Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Heather.
Yeah,
Good to see you.
see, I think Norman was just struck by an alien.
That's what I was thinking. While we're waiting for Norman to come back,
Yeah.
there was something that really struck me on the Mike Tyson. Is that his name? The first video. Someone asked how much of the universe have we been able to get in touch with, and the analogy was great. She said, "Well, if you picked up one, she showed you one glass of water from the ocean, and that's the amount of the universe that we've percentage-wise that we've contacted."
Right.
So,
Not a big sample.
it's a very tiny. I mean, it's inconceivable.
That's what I was saying. The universe is big.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt, but the eBay is leaking and the water is all coming down on
But-
the driveway.
Oh my gosh.
If you look at
Okay.
the ET scientist, one of the
Okay, guys, I
fundamental-
have to excuse myself.
Okay.
We have
The
a little,
eBay is leaking.
we have an emergency.
Okay.
Okay.
Deal with your emergency.
Just don't drown.
Yeah, great.
I have forgotten the name of or the calculation, but there is this calculation about the probability of life on any planet, and you know, of course, they don't know. The fact that we haven't gotten any signals yet makes some people think that life is not very probable, you know, and that the Earth really was a special place. But like I say, the universe is big, and so it's hard to imagine, even if we evolved under these special conditions because of our place in the sun and the atmosphere, and we can have water and air, and we have tectonic plates, so our planet can keep stirring itself up so we can generate the material of life. And so even if the Earth had all these special conditions, because the universe is so big, it seems to me there have to be more places, but most of it we can't listen to or reach or get their TV broadcasts or anything.
Well, probabilistically, there is no doubt there is life in the universe somewhere.
Right. Because if you can do it once, you can do it again.
Yes. And in the infinite number of possibilities, or as it approaches the infinite number of possibilities, it's there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, when or where?
So
But the-
one of
I think it's-
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Eric.
I was saying, I think it's sort of the nature of our minds is that we only can think of life in this. Well, many people can only think of life in the
Right.
same way as we are.
Right.
So there may just be nothing more than microscopic life in other planets. But then, how many millions of years did it take on our planet for the microscopic life to turn into, all our animals and our brains and all the things that evolved over the last few million years?
Again,
Now-
probabilistically, the statistics for possible intelligent life are there somewhere
Right.
in the universe.
And also there's our issues of are there other chemistries other than this carbon chemistry that life on this planet is based on? Are there other chemistries that can make these complex long chains of which our life is made? So maybe life on some planet can be based on sulfur or something else than carbon.
What do you think, Heather?
Well, I have no idea. It's the great mystery, as everything is, but I lean towards there being some kind of life in other places. We always need to feel we're so special.
That's right.
And we
We
talk about
are.
other intelligent life. Let's hope that there's some actual intelligent life out there.
Or here.
Or here. Well, you're one of them, but yeah, it's the big mystery. I don't know. When I was young, about 12 years old, I went to the Canadian National Exhibition and I saw something in the sky that was the usual round shape, moving really quickly, came down, hovered, and went away really quickly. Now, I reported that because at that time, I guess I reported it because it was different. I'd never seen that before. So I did report it to some association. And then about 20 years ago, when I was living in El Coloso, a poor part of Vallarta, a friend handed me her telescope and said, look over there. And I looked and I saw I didn't decide what it was because I really have no idea about anything, but I was fascinated because there were lights, it was moving strangely. And then I realized they were satellites. I finally realized that there were satellites and now there's so much stuff. I mean, there's over 500 satellites out there that we know of. They're planning on putting up many, many thousands more. And God knows what else is up there. So I don't know. It almost seems pointless to look at the night sky these days because there's so much explanation for what you're looking at, but how much time are you willing to invest in this? But my bottom line is, yes, I suspect there is some form of life other than microbes somewhere in the universe. Does it affect us now? No, but it's interesting to think about.
So that brings us to the videos of the Navy taking these objects and seeing them. What do you make of that? Anybody?
Well, I don't think they're making it up. Unless it's a fear tactic, but I saw something myself. So I tend to lean to think that they did see those things. But are we really aware of what every country in the earth is doing? Like, I don't know what they are.
Well, that's been one of the things that the UFO studiers have tried to deal with. And, they can explain a lot of them. There's some that they can't explain. And, it's either something we need better science, better tools, or it's something that doesn't fit our idea of what is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently they've taken it seriously enough to where the government has acknowledged their existence as an unidentified type of object, unexplainable.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How much of it is just an optical illusion?
Well, that's the question. Some of those things are kind of hard to not to kind of say, well, is it real or is it not real? And a lot of it can be explained, but there's that small percentage that can't be.
And it only takes one.
Yep.
I love the line about the Russian urine. He saw all these bright lights and it was Russian urine. Oh my God. There's a few things cracked me up. Yeah.
That's quite a bladder they must have.
You're in good company because you're in the company of Jimmy Carter, who also reported a UFO.
I'm sorry, Bob.
Who reported that?
Jimmy Carter, when he was younger.
Oh, really? I actually really trust him.
You have keys?
And this was over 60 years ago that I saw this. Huh.
So,
And certainly I remember hearing stories, I don't know from where I heard them, but like the ETs were helping the Egyptians build pyramids and
Yeah.
tales like this. So
Nazca
it
line.
seems like for most of my life, I've been hearing some funny stories. Now, I started reading science fiction when I was about 10, so that may have also affected the stories that are in here.
well, that TED talk I sent out by the archaeologist to debunk all that stuff
Yes,
was interesting in that her claim was that this showed a deep-seated racism and xenophobia.
Mm.
And one of the comparisons is that all these ancient civilizations saying that it was incapable of it shows a xenophobia, but they
right,
don't
right.
apply the same values to, say, the Romans in their construction or the Greeks in their construction.
Interesting, huh?
Mhm.
Mm. Wow.
I'm, as somebody who has learned a lot about ancient Indian stuff, that xenophobia is something that I'm pretty familiar with. Because
So they're
part
saying
of the
that
European view is like hasn't noticed that there was this rest of the world that was happening outside of Europe and the Near East.
yeah, so they're saying that it's a white perspective and racist.
Mhm.
The conclusion. What do you think about that? Is that a possibility?
Uh, a lot of it could stem from that, but not
But
a
it's
blanket
just a lot
possibility.
of it can be just fantasy. We can have these strange ideas. We can have dreams that we take as real. So it's hard to know. I lived with a uh, mother who would, when she was a girl, go out by the Red River and speak to Jesus, not like speaking to Jesus, you think, in some of these stories, but like Jesus would be there and she and he were just talking. And so she had these kind of experiences all her life. She went to a psychiatrist, and asking the psychiatrist, am I crazy or am I spiritual? And the psychiatrist, after a while and a bunch of tests, said, you're spiritual.
Mhm. That's interesting you bring that up, because to me, there's a connection between wondering if aliens exist and wondering if spirits and ghosts exist. And
Uh-huh.
for me, it's based on personal experience. Yes, they do. Definitely. I have no question. I don't believe I'm schizophrenic. I've always, anyway, there's a connection here. And I think the other thing is we like to tie things up in nice, tidy packages, because maybe some people don't enjoy the thought process. I do. But maybe some people just want to go on with their lives and not worry about things they don't understand.
Well, also, different people have different tolerances for
Yes.
ambiguity.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
And
Go ahead, Eric.
I was thinking, if you think about our brain, I mean, obviously, if you use, people can take hallucinogens, LSD or any of the other ones, and have these very, very vivid experiences, which probably in some people, in terms of which drug they take, can feel very, very real.
right.
Just as sometimes we can't differentiate, we get confused. Did we just dream this, or did it happen? And so, if our brain is capable of reacting in a way from a drug, then why? And certainly, it could react from an internal drug, so to speak, and come up with all kinds of experiences like seeing ghosts, that seem to us very real. I think we've all probably have had an experience where we thought something was real, but then later found out that it wasn't. I suppose it could happen the other way around, but
Yes. Yes.
so we just think about the evolution. How did we evolve from a one cell animal in the ocean to have a brain like we have, which has more connections than computers have. I mean,
we have more connections than there are cell atoms in the universe.
What?
and that's hard to understand.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do.
It's a big number.
Wow.
It's an immense number, and you'd have to have a fairly advanced mathematics skill to be able to calculate it, because it's something on the order of how many brain cells in a human brain? 400 billion, I don't know, a big number, and each of them can be connected to each other one, basically, so you would have 400 billion factorial. And, once when I was playing this Oriental game of Go, I wondered how many different games of Go could there be so you could solve it with a computer. And the number of games of Go is 369 factorial. And that is more than the number of particles in the universe. So the brain is pretty complicated. Also, what we know as reality is you could consider it a hologram written within your brain based on sensory inputs and your perceptions and your conditioning and all of this other stuff. You're not seeing the universe. You're seeing your own mentally created holographic image of the universe that is so good you think it's real.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's another topic for another day.
It sure is.
At least. Anyway, I'm sorry to get, I think Jim's question is a good question that he left us. This is the part of Fermi's theory, which is one of the reasons why we haven't seen any other intelligent life around is intelligent life destroys itself pretty shortly.
Oh.
And so intelligent civilizations don't last too long.
Oh, you got it?
Well, I
Must
think
be
we're all.
Pablo.
Hey, John, turn your microphone off.
Okay. Yeah, see how to do that.
I had never heard the hypothesis that James presented, but that's absolutely fascinating, and I think we're seeing it at the beginning of that in the last 50 years. It's probably been there longer, but it's escalating in the last 50 years exponentially. Look at all the fires, the weather. It's just unbelievable what's happening, all in the last 10 years for a lot of it.
Are we the test case for the Fermi paradox, saying that we are self-destroying ourselves?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, another one was the nuclear holocaust. That was another part of the Fermi paradox.
That's more 50s and 60s disasters than 2020. So now we'll destroy ourselves with AI and environmental destruction.
Of course, I like the one that also says they did visit us, saw what we were, and decided not to get in contact and left.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Right.
Yeah. Uh,
It's interesting that this whole idea of alien contact, in Ancient Aliens series on History Channel, it's gone 15 years plus now, I guess closer to 20, and they're still going strong.
mhm.
And certainly there are lots of stories.
Well, we're always fascinated with things that we don't understand. At least some people are, and some people don't want that feeling.
Well, back to the ambiguity again.
Mhm.
Now, with aliens, I come from an unusual family, I guess, and my older brother, one of the stories that he told me was that they didn't let him go to the Berkeley Psychic Institute anymore because when he went there, all their psychics got kind of wigged out. And my brother said it was because he had observed that there were these incorporeal extraterrestrials that were hanging around him just waiting for something. He didn't know what they were waiting for, but they were there waiting for something. And I guess when he went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute, his extraterrestrial psychic beings bothered their psychics.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Now, when I was 8 or 9, we shared a bedroom, and every night before we went to bed, he told me stories. And one of the stories was about somebody in his jet jelly bean, and he would be these serial stories that he told me every night. Now, later, when I heard these other stories about his extraterrestrial observers, I didn't really know how to take them since I had heard these other stories.
How much older than you was he?
He was 4 years older than me, which gave him enough extra power that he could terrorize me in many ways.
But you grew up under the same influence of your mother. So do you
Right.
have stories of your own?
No, I don't.
No?
It makes me feel like I'm an inferior person.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Clearly. Yeah.
So back to the universe.
Back to the universe, Richard, go ahead.
Back to the universe. Yeah. To me, one of the Fermi paradox, I guess it is called, the question of how long do civilized species last is an interesting question. Certainly, like we're talking about, we seem to have gotten into problems in the last few years. And, that article I sent you, Bob, that talked about the rates of these change that happen in civilizations and in technologies. We're going through a period of change that is extraordinary, and we don't know how this is going to work out. One of the things that I read in the 1950s was an article by a science writer named Willie Ley. And I can't tell you many names of many authors that I read in the 1950s, so this guy impressed me. And one of the things he said is he was looking at the rates of change in human civilizations and societies, and he looked at 3 things over a long span. Human lifespan, how much information was available, and how fast we could move. And he said if you look at those curves over the human history, he thought that around the year 2000, they all became asymptotic. That is, they just went straight up.
Hmm.
And in terms of information, I think we're pretty close to that. We're lagging on lifespan, but they're working on that. We're haven't made too much headway in speed, though. Once we got to orbital speed, we haven't gotten much faster. But this points to the rates of change become so accelerated, like you were saying, Eric, when you said 50 years, no, the last 10 years.
Mhm.
You know, we're experiencing these rates of change. I see them because I do that science newsletter every week. I've been looking at this stuff pretty closely for about the last 5 years. And for me, it's amazing to see now the stuff they're talking about compared to just 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's algorithmic and
Yes,
exponential.
yes. And so I can imagine the idea of things just changing so much, it all just goes bluey.
But yeah, has it been studied? And I'm sure someone must have looked at it. The different civilizations that burned out, like the Mayans and all other groups. Do we have enough information about those patterns to see if it gives a prediction on other civilizations?
I don't think
Like
we
ours?
know. I don't think we know, but certainly a bunch of them were environmental. You know, the Mayans, the end of the Mayans was environmental. The end of the Anasazi was environmental.
But I would think, like the Anastasians, didn't they basically run out of water?
Because they took the trees that kept the water table stable in their river, and they used the trees to build houses with.
Okay.
So they stripped the environment of what it needed to maintain itself. So I thought they were a pretty good example for us in microcosm.
Yeah. In the Mayans, didn't basically one of the theories is that the population outstripped the capacity of the land to support them. The population growth.
Well, they were also experiencing a bit of a drought at one point too.
Right. I thought the drought, probably the two things fit together. The population was growing rapidly, and the droughts made that not possible anymore.
But what happened is that they didn't collapse. They just moved out of the cities back into the forest
Okay.
and dispersed.
So
Of
they
course,
adapted.
They adapted, yeah.
of course, unlike us with all the, there's a lot of noise outside. I gotta close some doors. Can you hear the noise?
We
No,
can hear you.
no,
Oh,
No,
okay,
we
then.
just
All right.
hear you.
All right. I mean, at least we believe that all our current global weather, global warming is a phenomena of hydrocarbons, burning, the fuels. But I don't think there's any evidence that activities of the Mayans and other cultures brought the droughts on. They were just sort of a natural changes in weather over the centuries, the millennium. I understand. I don't think there's any theories otherwise, are there?
Whether it was the Mayans caused the drought or not, you're saying.
I'll have to go back and take a look at the discussion we had on the civilizations and their rise and fall.
Uh-huh.
and send you the readings on that, Eric.
Okay.
See if I can find it in my past.
Okay.
Can
Now,
we talk about aliens again?
Yeah, we can talk
well,
about it.
back to the aliens. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that this had to be from a science fiction story is the only place I could have this idea, but it was somebody met somebody from some other civilization and asked basically a question like, where did everybody go? And he said they determined or something that this species had been much more advanced than ours, and they finally got to a stage where they all just went off and became stars.
Oh.
Movie stars?
No, that's right. So they changed from a corporeal form of life to an incorporeal form of life.
Yeah, we're all just energy anyway.
Yes.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Yes.
right. So the reason they didn't send signals around that we could detect with all our antennas is now they could just do it direct online.
Hmm.
Well, those are all wild speculations.
Mhm.
That's right.
Fortunately, we don't really have any data to work with.
That's right. And in the lack of data, one of the things the mind is very good is if it doesn't have an answer, it'll just make up one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which brings us back to the UFO studies that are currently going on and the recognition by the government that it is something, but we don't know what it is.
And it took them, what, 60 years or more to admit that it is something?
Well, admitted publicly. If you go back and look at Project Blue Book, which was in the 50s when it all started, there was still that slim 1% or so that they couldn't explain or wouldn't explain.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, UFOs go back in the modern era to 1947 or 48 when a pilot flying around Mount Rainier spotted these lights,
Mhm.
and called them like saucer-like. And that's where the UFOs came from, the flying saucer terminology. So there's
Well,
been
that
a
would
lot-
certainly, sorry, it would certainly spark the public's imagination.
It certainly did.
Yeah.
It certainly did. And I thought Tyson's argument on why aliens are always depicted as evil was interesting. That kids are being afraid of being eaten.
That was, yeah, that was,
Because of that Twilight Zone show, remember when they, the
Well,
alien, yeah.
actually, it goes back to a
Oh,
Heinlein short story in the 50s of To Serve Man. That's where it came from.
yeah, that's what this show was called too. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's where they got it from. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
where they got it from.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, them and us, repeated micro, in a microcosmic way and macrocosmic way. And this is definitely that.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if intelligent life is this rare and precious thing in the universe, then to me, it's another sign that what we should be doing personally is celebrating this wonder that we are, because if we're this rare and precious thing, what have you done today to celebrate it? And what have you done today to make use of it?
More of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, our life is so brief in comparison that every day is a gratitude.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Although, SETI says that they're very close to proving the existence of life in other planets. And it should be, even in our short lifespan, what's left of us could possibly take place before we disappear into the stars.
And certainly with the better and better telescopes and instruments that are being built and applied to the problem, one of the things that NASA is doing is building a new telescope that they hope to be able to look at planetary environments of planets around other stars that they think are good candidates for life, and seeing if they can detect chemical signals in their atmosphere, and maybe they can look at the dark side and see lights.
I know that you sent me that article I'd read before, but I don't think it's conclusive yet.
Oh no, it's just an instrument. They're making another tool to look around.
The other one I found interesting as a speculation is the speculation that they might have found 5 stars that could be Dyson spheres around them.
Right, yes, yes.
Dyson sphere.
And
that
Can you
again, Bob?
repeat that 5 stars that what around them? Sorry.
They have a Dyson sphere around them.
And the Dyson spheres are these big conceived structures around stars that can absorb the solar energy and become a power source.
Huh.
And they have to be fairly big if they are things that astronomers think that they have maybe discovered. I guess those are all still the Dyson sphere candidates are in this universe, or are they in or this galaxy? I don't know where they were located. I read the same report.
No. The thing is that if someone can create a Dyson sphere around a star, they have to be an advanced civilization to do it.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's,
Because of the technology involved to do that.
yeah, stars are pretty big.
Yeah. Even small stars.
And you don't, with a Dyson sphere, you don't have to worry about having a battery to back it up when at night.
There are so many things to ponder. I mean, it took me up until a few years ago to decide whether God exists. And now we have, woo! Yeah. So many mystery.
We'll get to
But
that.
you know you
in a bit,
exist.
Heather,
Yeah.
next month.
Oh, good, good. Yeah.
So
But you know you exist, Heather.
Well, I haven't always done that.
But you still existed even when you didn't know you existed.
I think that perhaps now I believe that might very well be true. Yeah.
The thing about knowing you exist is not something you have to believe in.
That's an interesting point. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
So when we find some other intelligent life, what are we going to do with it?
It's not what are we going to do with it? What are they going to do with us?
That too.
Whip us into shape.
Well, aren't they working on trying to find other intelligent life on the planet, like figuring out how to communicate with elephants and whales and dolphins and crows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as different type of life existing, take a look at the brain patterns and configuration of the octopus.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Fascinating. Yeah. Oh man. There's certainly enough to keep us occupied right here. Enough mysteries
there
right
is.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what do you think on the whole? Are we alone?
Well, I think we're definitely not alone. The question is, how close are the neighbors?
On several levels. Yeah. Yeah.
Your thoughts, Eric?
I suspect just by the probability of, chance, there has to be other life form, but not necessarily. Well, there are other life forms. I'm pretty certain. Whether they're intelligent life forms, I don't know. I mean, how did our intelligent life form develop? I mean, we started with obviously, the one cell organisms in the ocean, and how did that turn into intelligent life form? And there's lots of I guess do we consider plants having intelligence life?
Mm-hmm.
They certainly respond to all kinds of environmental stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Right.
communicate with each other.
Say again?
They communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. So is that intelligent?
We can't find a nervous system, so because we can't find a nervous system, the scientists tend to think they're not intelligent because they still don't fully understand what consciousness is. And so we think consciousness is a product of the nervous system. So, so again,
If we think outside of the box of the evolutionary process and the possibilities that could occur, obviously somewhere there is a civilization that could be based on something besides our own evolutionary process or carbon-based thought.
Right.
And this civilization could exist in different forms in different places. The possibility, and I think this is where the Fermi paradox is correct. The possibility of finding them is hard because of the distances involved and the fact that we're looking back in space and time trying to find them. If we do find them, they may not exist now, even if they existed before, because of that. So contacting them would be hard.
One theory that I have read about is that we wouldn't have to contact them. We could just have to contact their droids that they sit around in the universe, and the artificial intelligences maybe can last longer than the life form intelligences.
Ooh.
So
That's an interesting thought.
I'm trying to assimilate what you just said. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's like, isn't that like the concern that computers will take over and they'll talk to each other?
Right.
Yeah. So if they can do that, are we creating a life form in a computer or an IT of any kind, or AI?
There are a bunch of questions involved in that, among which is what is life, what is consciousness? We know they have existence, but does that mean that they have consciousness?
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
So there is a
Or is
question of sentience not being mechanical rather than
Yeah. Yes.
molecular.
That's right.
Biological.
That's right, like that ancient Greek calculator that could calculate orbital positions 2,000 years ago. That was all mechanical.
So last thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, I think to sum up, I think, no, I know that, I'm sorry, I have to work through this here. It's
Good, I
I
appreciate
have
the
strokes,
effort.
man. that there are other levels of existence simultaneous to ours. No, we're not alone, but who, what, and why are here with us, I have no idea, but we are not alone.
Anybody else?
I'm relieved.
You're relieved. Well, I agree with Heather. I think because of the innumerable places in the universe, there's almost certainly some kind of life form. Whether it's intelligent, obviously it's hard to know. Obviously, yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
then, if if you go back to just one thought went through my mind is one of the things that we do have that's unique is consciousness. Do computers, even if they can talk with each other and make plans and all that kind of stuff, is there consciousness in that?
We have to define these words.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
What a great discussion. Thank you for letting me be part of it.
yeah.
I've been playing hooky for a long time, and every time I come back, I realize how much I love and appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Next month's topic is called The Return of the God Hypothesis. There's a fellow named Stephen Breyer wrote a book on this called The Return of the God Hypothesis and wants to prove intelligent design through science. He's a professor at Cambridge University. He has a doctorate of the philosophy of science from there. And he's written this provocative book that opens up the fact that can we, from a cosmological or other mathematical or other way, using science, prove the existence of God and the fact that it is an intelligent design God. So, an interesting topic.
An interesting topic.
Yeah.
There's I'll be sending out a link in the links. I'll be sending out a 1-hour discussion from the Hoover Institute from Stanford, talking with this fellow and his reasoning behind it. So,
Thank you.
until then, I will see you all next month.